Welcome to another exciting episode of Cars with Big Boy Trev. I am Big Boy Trev.
My name is Birigi.
And today we have something amazing courtesy of Inchcape approved used vehicles. What do you have in store for the audience, Mr. Birigi?
Well, today Inchcape Motors has given us access to their stable of approved pre-owned vehicles. So these are used cars that were bought brand new from the showroom that have been tropicalized for the Kenyan market.
But first things first.
Let's check out the highlights of today's show.
This week on Cars with Big Boy Trev, it's all about sports activity coupes, starting with the BMW X4. We analyze its unique styling preposition, premium interiors, not forgetting the twin power performance engines, courtesy of BMW that guarantee the ultimate driving pleasure while on the road. Catch this and much more only on Cars with Big Boy Trev every Sunday 6:30 p.m. on KTN Home. So this is the key to BMW's mid-size crossover, the BMW X4, and with prices starting at Kenya shillings 5 million, do you reckon it's a better deal as compared to the Mercedes GLC? Let's find out now. We start with the front profile, which is traditional BMW. The kidney grille with the slated grille, and of course it has chrome emblazoned around it, gives this car that signature look that BMW has. It's called the design language of BMW. It's more of an evolution rather than a revolution. You'll always find this design on every single BMW, save for the new ones, which is very controversial. Now, as you can see, the headlights are rectangular, of course, with the traditional angel eyes inside. They're quadratic, they're not circular, but the angel eyes just gives this car that signature look. When you look behind your rear view mirror and see this particular car at night, you're able to know that this BMW means ultimate driving pleasure. Now, as you can see from the bumper, of course, you can see it's got a lip. This lip signifies that this particular car can do a little bit of off-roading, and of course it is color toned so that you're able to know that this particular car has a Janus car we keep on talking about. So right below the kidney grille is this front air dam spoiler that gives and signifies this car can do a little bit of off-roading, and of course, as you can see, there's a slated grille over here. That's where the intercoolers are. It allows the engine to cool efficiently while driving this X4 across our terrain. Now let's move over to the side profile, and this is where matters become very interesting. First of all, the silhouette is the coupe design that is borrowed from the big brother the X6, and of course there's this Hofmeister kink that I've been reminded, and this is courtesy of Chris Bangor, who left a legacy at BMW, because every BMW must have this as a signature tone. And of course you can see the subtle lines on the body. You do have a hip line that runs across the front fender, bulges out, and then also merges with this rear part just to give this car that bold, athletic feeling that probably this is a sports activity coupe. To top it all up, we have 18-inch rims as standard, and of course you do have this particular edge over here that gives this car that Janus required. It means that this car can do a little bit of off-roading. The cladding runs all the way to the back on into the boot area. Now moving over to the back, this is where you see this quadratic tail lamp with the signature LED lamps makes this X4 stand out from the rest of the herd. When I mean the rest of the herd, of course the GLC Mercedes and the Audi Q3. Again, this boot lip is short again because this is a sports activity coupe, and to top it up you have the BMW badge. And at the rear bumper, this signature oval tail pipes also denote performance. Of course on the highest spec version you do have twin pipes, but this one, since it's a diesel, it has one, but definitely it denotes power and performance of the X4. Question is, it's time to see if the cabin also plays that part that impresses you, if the X4 is indeed one of the best crossovers in the market. Stay tuned. Okay guys, you've seen from the walk around the design aspect of this BMW X4. It's based on the 3 Series, but of course now tailored for the needs of the young, upwardly mobile family, and we start with this particular design. Do you reckon that the design is better than the GLC Mercedes or the Audi Q3? Let us know as seen on the social media notes below. But first things first, let's check out the interior of this particular car. So basically it's based on the 3 Series platform, so you can have all the attributes of a 3 Series, that is performance, handling, excellence at point. Of course you have the tall riding that gives you that ability to go over a bit of mud and rut, and I can tell you for a fact that X4 is again very stylish because it's a coupe. Now it has that coupe feeling that has been borrowed from the big brother, the X6. Now let's start with the dashboard. As you can see, again, typical BMW layout, angled towards the driver, because BMW have that a driver-centric design theme for the dashboard, so that every single item on the dashboard can be seen by the driver at any given angle, including the heads-up display, which comes as an option. It's called the iDrive. It's been in use by BMW for close to 20 years now, 2002. And of course, it houses quite a number of items. As you can see, you can connect your telephone, listen to music, toggle through the vehicle settings and dynamics, so power, efficiency, and of course anything to do with SOS, or if you need assistance from BMW, you're able to toggle through and call that number very easily. Again, that is so important because BMW are trying to ensure that this particular car is able to give you good service, especially in the urban jungle. Now right below it, you do have vents that actually been housed in a piano black finish, so that if you want to drive this particular car in different setting, you're able to feel and change the climate. It's dual zone, so basically the driver and the passenger can alter the climate control system for their benefit. Again, right below it, you do have an audio system. It's called the BMW Business Radio, and of course on the higher spec you do have a Bang & Olufsen sound system that is actually quite amazing. And of course, we're going to hand over to Mr. Murigizo, a resident tech expert. He's going to give us a lowdown about this whole connected drive system, this iDrive system, and what it can do for you. Now, moving over to the gearbox console, as you can see, there's space here. You can actually fit quite a number of things. If you slide up this slider, you can actually put your cell phone over here. And then if you slide it away, then you can have space for 2 cup holders and, of course, a cigarette lighter. Gearbox console, similar to the BMW 3 Series as well. You have the traditional joystick that's been employed for the last 10 years. You're able to toggle through the different settings, either manually or automatic, and this is an 8-speed automatic transmission that allows you to explore the full potential of this engine we're going to test out later on. And obviously on the left hand side of the gearbox console, you do have the iDrive system with the menus where you can cycle through and see what is what. So Mr. Murigi is going to give us a lowdown about this particular system. I'm going to hand over the reins to Mr. Murigi, who's a resident tech expert. He's going to give us a lowdown about this particular system. He's going to move to the back and see the practicality of the seat and the boot, and then we head out and see if this particular X4 is still the ultimate driving machine.
When it comes to the technology of this car, the BMW X4 has not been left behind. It is, of course, one of the X vehicles, of course, now an SUV. So this is a car that has been built for the modern millennial family. So it means that obviously now we have, like Trevor had mentioned, this BMW business system. It's a very good system. In fact, I have to say, of all the cars that we have been reviewing on this show, the music systems on the BMWs are consistently the best quality, the best sounding, and the loudest. So in terms of technology, of course, we have this iDrive controller, like Trevor had mentioned. It's, of course, mated now to this 7-inch display. It's a very clear system. It's very easy to use. I have to say, iDrive is the gold standard when it comes to multimedia systems. Very easy to use, very intuitive. You don't need to go through a whole set of manuals to know what's going on over here. So there's a rotary dial, like you can see, and then you can actually also move it up and down, left and right, and press it itself to select things that you need to do on the move. On this vehicle, of course, now, this system is not a touchscreen system, so you have to use the iDrive controller, but like I had mentioned, it's a lot easier to use. In addition to that, of course, now we have buttons over here. There are 8 buttons across, which you would use, of course, now to select a radio station. You would use to select an individual track. There's a 6 CD changer, of course, that's available in here. But in addition to that, you can also program each one of these buttons to do any function that you want. So it's additional customizable functionality. Coming to the steering wheel, of course, like Trevor had mentioned, this is available with cruise control, which you can set with the buttons on the left side of the steering. On the right side of the steering, we have, of course, the volume settings for this system and Bluetooth and voice activation that allows you to make and receive calls with your hands on the wheel and your eyes on the road. This car, of course, like Trevor had mentioned, comes with that beautiful 8-speed ZF gearbox with paddle shifters on the steering wheel here. Makes it for a very good driving experience. In terms of power, we do have a USB point in here that allows you to, of course, now use USB on the system, charges your phone also at the same time. We also have a 12-volt socket and an auxiliary in addition to the storage that we have over here in this car. Speaking of storage, like Trevor had mentioned, there's enough space to put a mobile phone in the front here, and of course cup holders, and loads of space on the side, enough for 1-liter bottle on each of the sides over here. But let's check into the back to see just how much space there is for passengers and for the stuff that you need to carry in this beautiful BMW X4. Coming around to the back of the BMW X4, and there's a surprising amount of space considering this design choice of the coupe style that reduces the headline at the back over here. So what they've done to make sure that you still have enough space is that this seat is set lower than it's set in the X3 so that it gives you more headroom, and they've done a really good job with that because I'm 5'9" and there's quite enough of headroom for me over here. Now, in addition to that, this seat is set to Trevor's driving position. He is 6'1", I am 5'9", and as you can see for yourself, there's loads of space for both my knees and for my feet under the driver's seat over here. In terms of storage, we of course now have storage nets at the back of either the passenger and the driver doors. In each of the doors at the back here, there's space enough for a 1-liter bottle. It's very large indoor pockets over here, and I like the fact that they're actually spaced separately. So there's enough space for something big and enough space for something small. In the middle over here, we actually have, of course, the trademark BMW cup holders that are available here. I like the fact that when they're closed, it allows you to just not have any interruption over here. In addition to that, of course, we have through loading all the way to the boot, so you can actually access something in the boot or store something that is pretty long with people sitting here in the back. In terms of the comfort and the availability over here, we have, of course, air conditioning vents for the rear people over here. Small storage, enough, of course, now for hand sanitizer, of course, in thinking about the times that we're in. And each of the outboard seats over here has a space for a coat hook. In terms of safety, of course, we have side curtain airbags extending all the way to the back of this car to make sure that you're safe at the back. In addition to that, we have 3-point safety belts for all of the occupants in the back seat. And we have ISOFIX points for child seats to make sure that your children are safe when you're on the move in this car. But it's time for us to check out the boot to see just how much space there is in the BMW X4. Coming round to the back of the BMW X4, and this, of course, now is the biggest difference between this X4 and its brother, the X3. It's, of course, the sloping coupe roofline, and it does have a bit of an impact on the boot capacity, but let me just show you what they've done to make up for that. So first things first, we have, of course, now a powered tailgate that reveals to open 500 liters of boot capacity. This is, of course, 50 liters, a little less than the X3. But what they've done to make up for that is that they've made it incredibly easy to use. It's very nice, very square, and they've made as standard, of course, now these adjustable rails for tie-down hooks that allow you, of course, now to move these around. You can even remove them just to make sure that you can secure the stuff that you put inside here. In addition to that, of course, you have additional space on the side here. You have tie-down hooks that pop out on either side of the car itself, and we have a 12-volt socket that's available here. In addition to that, there's a bit of a storage net over here and a bit of elastic to make sure that you keep stuff not moving when you're driving this car, because this, of course, is still a BMW. It's the ultimate driving machine. This car is fitted with run-flat tires as standard, so there's no spare tire, which gives you all this available space under here, in addition to what you have above over here. But it's time for us to take this car on the road and let you know how this feels as a driving experience.
So guys, today is a beautiful day and I'm sampling the BMW X4 Sports Activity Coupe. For those who are wondering, BMW coined the name Sports Activity Vehicle about 10 years ago, and this is when they launched the X6. But because the market is all about niche, they decided to create a vehicle that has a similar size and design as the X6 but has a 3 Series platform. Now, as you know, the 3 Series is one of the best-selling BMWs in the country, globally, of course, and of course, it is famed for its handling prowess. So, are matters different with this particular X4? we're going to find out how powerful it is, how good the chassis is in as far as handling, poise, balance, and of course safety features of this particular car. So we start with the platform. So basically it sits on the 3 Series platform, the F30, which is very sturdy and rigid. Basically it's a mix of aluminium and iron and steel, just to give this car that flexibility. The chassis is so stiff that it gives this car very good on-road manners. Now obviously planted on it a couple of engines. There are quite a number of derivatives, starting with a 2-liter petrol and of course a 2-liter diesel, going all the way to a straight 6, which is not available in the market at the moment. So this one that I'm driving is basically a 2-liter turbo diesel. Now it produces 140 kilowatts and 400 newton meters of torque that is sent to the 4 wheels courtesy of an 8-speed ZF gearbox. Now I can tell you that 8-speed ZF allows you to flex the full potential of this engine, and of course helps you return a fuel economy figure of 5.6 liters per 100 kilometers. That is not too bad for such a car. Remember, this car weighs about 1500 kilograms, so I mean it's very good, it's very efficient, especially on long range when you're driving to shags and back. The efficiency of this diesel is amazing. And of course I do love the fact that 400 newton meters of torque is enough to give you good acceleration and good overtaking power from as low as 1700 RPM. That is amazing, and I can tell you BMW do not play. Now let's talk about the suspension. Now obviously you know it's based on the 3 Series, so basically at the front you do have McPherson struts with long stroke suspension tuned so that you're able to have good dynamic on-road manners, and of course you're able to do a bit of boot bashing. And at the back you do have also multi-link rear suspension that also allows you to flex the suspension of this particular car with ease, and of course allows you to enjoy what a BMW is all about. It's all about feeling, the handling, the poise, the balance on sharp crests and curves. That is so important. And of course, as an option, you can get the X Drive mode, which basically allows you to become an off-road bundu bashing king, because the traction is now varied by the system. The system basically sorts itself out. If you feel as if the vehicle is losing traction, then the X Drive kicks in and redistributes torque to the wheel that is slipping to ensure that you don't get stuck on any given surface, and that is amazing. Now safety, as you all know, crossovers and coupes like this are renowned for safety, because this is a family vehicle. One has to find out if this car is safe for your family. So what BMW have done, they've thrown every single thing out of the 3 Series onto the X4 and more. We start with active safety systems. This basically prevents you from having an accident. So from ABS, electronic brake force distribution, electronic stability control, traction control, and many others, that just helps you avoid getting into a bit of trouble. But in case all hell breaks loose, then you can rely on the 6 airbags, the 5-star safety cell that has been certified by Euro NCAP. This is the body that certifies cars as far as crashes are concerned. And of course, you do have impact energy beams that dissipate energy away from the passenger cell so that you and your family can remain safe. And it's very important in this category. Now the question is, yes, you've seen it's got power, it's got poise, it feels balanced, and it pulls very well, but can I do a bit of bundubashi? Can I take this car to my shamba somewhere else? We're gonna hand over the reins to Mr. Murigi, who's a resident off-road expert. He's gonna give us a load on about the X-Drive system, ground clearance, approach and departure angles, and then we do value for money.
So we are here in the BMW X4, which of course is mechanically identical to the BMW X3, which we reviewed earlier on our show. You can check out that review on our YouTube channel. Just search for CBBT and BMW X3. Now, when I say mechanically identical, I mean it has exactly the same X-Drive 4-wheel drive system in the X3, and that's an incredible system. It provides power to all 4 wheels and makes sure that you have the best traction when you're on tarmac taking corners, or when you're in this off-road environment which you've chosen right now that simulates the environments that somebody who owns a car like this would be having, which is effectively going to check out the shamba, going to check out Shosho, or going to do some incredible amazing activities, because this is what BMW calls a sports activity coupe. So this is the type of car that you have, that you put your stuff in the back, you put your friends in the car, and you go zip lining, you go whitewater rafting, you go and experience the best things that Kenya has to offer. Now, when we're on a road like this, the first thing that you have to note, of course, is that we have increased ground clearance and incredibly amazing suspension. So just like the X3, this gives you a very soft, compliant ride when you're off the road, and this steering allows you to know exactly where the car is and to put your foot exactly where you want it to be. Now, this car specifically is a 2-liter diesel, which means that it gives me a lot of the power that this car is available with very low in the rev range. So it's very easy for me to just modulate the power and put the car where I want it to be. In addition to that, of course, now this being a diesel means it has a lot more grunt. So if you were in a tricky situation, like if you had some mud or if you had to wade through some water, this would pull it out without any problems. The advantage of the diesel also now is that when you're going on a long distance trip, it gives you incredible range, especially now with this 2-liter diesel. I happen to like BMW diesels quite a lot. Trevor, of course, also loves them, but I think he likes the gearbox a lot better. Speaking of that gearbox, this, of course, is that spectacular 8-speed ZF gearbox, which allows you to modulate the power coming from the engine spectacularly in all environments. So especially here when you're off the road, you need to be driving as fast as necessary and as slow as possible. So this car allows you to do an off-road course without accelerating crazily, and you could get yourself, of course, in a bit of trouble. So I have to say it's done a really good job in this simulated off-road environment that we're talking about. I wouldn't take this car all the way to Lodwar and do overlanding, but you can be pretty sure that you can turn off the tarmac and drive to somewhere interesting to do some amazing things in this sports activity coupe. So it's time for us to take this back on the tarmac and for me to meet up with Trey for us to discuss value for money.
So guys, you've seen what the BMW X4 is all about. Its practicality being the top, and of course performance to boot, and not forgetting the quality of this car is amazing. Mr. Murik, what are your thoughts on this particular BMW X4?
Well, you know the way they do the naming for BMWs, the odd numbers are the serious cars, the 1, the 3, the 5, the 7, and then the cars that are a little bit fun are the even numbers, the 2, the 4 that we have over here, and of course now the X6. This, of course, now came with very high expectations because the X3 is a very solid car, and this is a fun version of that car, and this delivered everything that we were expecting. It's fun to drive on the road, it's incredible off the road, and this 2-liter diesel sips fuel like fine wine. It's really spectacular.
Wow, new acronyms today, guys, new acronyms. Mr. Mirigi, so how much does it cost on the road?
Well, this is part of Inchcape's approved pre-owned vehicle stock. So this is actually a used car that was somebody bought brand new from the showroom, and they're trading it in to get a new vehicle. So this is now available at a price of 5.465 million shillings. This is coming now, like with all of the approved vehicles, with a 1-year, 20,000 kilometer warranty. And in addition to that, they're throwing in a 1-year service plan and 1-year comprehensive insurance.
Wow, you cannot beat that deal, guys. But before we leave, we know this particular car exists in a space where there's competition. Who are the key rivals in this segment?
Well, because we're talking about a used car now, I can actually start talking about cars like the Porsche Macan, which also has a coupe variant, and of course the Mercedes-Benz GLE coupe, which GLC coupe, sorry, not the GLE, which competes, of course, with the X4 in this market.
So, guys, do you reckon this particular X4 is far much better than the rivals that Mr. Mirigi has mentioned? Let us know on the social media notes below. We'll get back to you with the feedback whether the X4 is the ultimate driving crossover. But Mr. Mirigi, signing out, before we leave, how do people catch CBBT after the show? Well,
right now at 7 p.m. you can catch this specific episode. It's going to be premiering on our YouTube channel. Search for CBBT_TV or just look for Cars with Big Boy Trev. We're also available on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and like I mentioned before, YouTube.
We're signing out. This is Big Boy Trev.
This is Mirigi. Drive safe
and be safe.